Hello and welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Monday, April 10th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Monday, April 10th here today. A lot to get into on today's podcast. We are coming off of an exciting sports weekend all around the world of sports and hockey, basketball, baseball. You had a little golf, the Masters. Jon Rahm wins it. Beats out Brooks Koepka on a crazy final day yesterday where they had to wrap up round 3 because of the weather delay. There was some trees that fell on Saturday, so they wrapped up round 3 yesterday, and then Jon Rahm beat out Brooks Koepka by 4 strokes to win it. And Jon Rahm, whatever you want to call it, 4 swings, 4 strokes, whatever you want to call it, Jon Rahm wins the Masters at Augusta. It was an excellent tournament. I had a lot of fun watching. I got to admit, that's, I think, the most I've actually watched the Masters tournament in a very long time. I usually don't watch a ton, but I have. I've kind of gotten into golf a little bit here over the past couple years. Really, over the past year, I've gotten into it both playing and watching, and it was a fun tournament. It was a good tournament. And the golf season, I guess if you want to call it, continues to roll on. We also had a lot of Yankees baseball. We've continued to have the Mets as well. Yankees got a nice series win against the Baltimore Orioles. Lost game 1 on Friday night. Got the win on Saturday. Took care of business as well on Sunday. So it was a good 2 days for the Yankees. Got the job done. 2 out of 3. They are now 3-0 in rubber matches. They took care of business against San Francisco in 3 games, took the rubber game against Philly, and took the rubber game against Baltimore. So they are now 3 series in. They've won all 3 series. They're 6-3 to start the year. They've looked very good. There's a lot of things they've done well. There's definitely some things to still work on and definitely still some concerns specifically when it comes to the injury and the health of the team. But all in all, it's been a good start for the New York Yankees when you went into the year with some optimism, and there was also some doubts, but all in all, it's been a good start as the Yankees currently sit 6-3. Unfortunately, they're not anywhere near first because the Rays right now are 9-0 and off to an historic fast start, and I expect the Rays to slow down. They're a good team, but I don't expect them to dominate like this. But for now, Yankees currently sit at 6-3. They're second in the American League East. They'll open up a 3-game set tonight in Cleveland against the Guardians before heading home later this week to welcome the Twins and the Angels along with the Blue Jays to town for a long 3-series homestand coming up. Mets took 2 of 3 against the Marlins. Took the first 2 games. Lost yesterday. Carrasco didn't look good. But they got the job done. Win the series. They now move on to play San Diego tonight, which is a big game for them. They currently sit 5-5, 1 game back of the 6-4 Braves. Scherzer will be on the bump tonight versus Yu Darvish, so a very good pitching matchup there as Scherzer tries to bounce back off of a really poor performance against the Brewers this past week. So the baseball season is off to a good start. So it's going to be another one of these podcasts. We're going to get into a whole lot. We already talked a little Yankees, Mets. I'll get into a little bit more here later on. We're going to talk a little Odell Beckham Jr. to the Ravens. The Jets were scheduled to have him visit today. It seemed like all signs are pointing to him being a New York Jet. That's not the case. He signs a 1-year deal worth up to $18 million to be the number 1 receiver in Baltimore. And this really shows, I think, Lamar Jackson's going to be their quarterback. So we'll get into that, what this means for the Jets. We'll get to a little Yankees. We'll get to a little Mets as well. Nets and Knicks are in the playoffs. The NBA regular season is done. We have a day off today league-wide. Tomorrow the play-in game starts. Timberwolves. Craziness with Rudy Gobert punching his teammate in the final game of the regular season. He won't make the trip tomorrow to Los Angeles. So that was a wild sequence of events as he's been suspended from the team. Nets, Sixers, 1 Eastern on Saturday, game 1. 6 Eastern will be Knicks, Cavs. 2 New York basketball teams back in the playoffs. Rangers continue to count down the dates of the postseason. We'll get to them as well here later on in the show, along with the Islanders, as they continue to fight for their playoff lives. Currently, right in the mix to get that last wild card spot. They are currently 1 point up on Pittsburgh with 2 games to go. So a lot of drama coming up here for the Islanders over the course of the next couple days as they close out their regular season and they try to get to the playoffs. They got 2 games left. Tonight against Washington in D.C., Capitals are out of it. And then Wednesday night against the Canadiens at UBS Arena. So you assume those are 2 winnable games. If they get those wins, there's a real good, then they're in. If they get those 2 wins, they're in the postseason. And you're looking at a Rangers, Devils, Carolina, Islanders, 4 teams coming out of the Metro going to the NHL playoffs. And right now, the Devils and the Carolina Hurricanes are battling out for that 1 spot atop the Metro and will depend on who the Rangers play. Because at this moment, the Rangers play the Devils in the first round. If the Devils jump Carolina, the Rangers will play Carolina. So things get a lot interesting there. An exciting time of year with NHL and NBA playoffs right around the corner. NBA starting tomorrow night with the play-in games, and the playoffs first-round matchups begin this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Obviously, Nets in Philly and the Knicks in Cleveland. A lot to get to, but we'll start off today with the Odell Beckham stuff. And I'll be quick with this, obviously, because we do have a lot of other stuff to get to today on the program. And again, the podcasts have kind of been all over with scheduling. I know I did some live streams last week, and I thank you all who joined the live streams. Did one all on baseball, talking all things New York Yankees. I did another one talking all things New York Jets. So I do plan on incorporating some other live streams as well for you, the viewers, to come in, ask me questions, and talk all things sports. But we got to start off today talking Odell Beckham. This is the second time now this has happened to the New York Jets, where they were scheduled to meet with a player, and the day before they were scheduled to meet with him, he signs with another team. Calais Campbell on 2 weeks ago Thursday, actually opening day, was scheduled to meet with the New York Jets. That Wednesday, he signed with the Falcons. So a day before he was going to meet with the Jets, he signs with the Falcons, and this has now happened again with Odell Beckham, where Sunday, yesterday, day before he was supposed to meet today, Monday, in Florham Park to meet with the Jets, he decides to sign a deal with the Baltimore Ravens. It's a 1-year deal. It's $18 million, and it's $15 million guaranteed. And I'm glad the Jets held off. You know how I feel about Odell Beckham. I wasn't fully against it. It wasn't so much I was against Odell coming here. It was more so what the contract would look like, how much we'd give Odell. Because, again, this is a guy coming off of his second major knee injury, a torn ACL. He missed all of last year. He hasn't played since the 2021 season where he caught the touchdown in the Super Bowl and then obviously hurt his knee and missed all of last season. This is a guy coming in with a history of health issues. He also has some off-the-field stuff as well. What he brings to the table on the field, he's trying to prove that he could still be a legitimate receiver in the NFL. And he would have been a nice acquisition to this receiving room, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, what he brings to the table when he's healthy, if you get 15 games of Odell Beckham with Aaron Rodgers, it could be a lot of fun to watch, including Allen Lazard, Garrett Wilson, and McCole Hardman, the other pieces to what is a very solid receiving room for the New York Jets. So those parts is where I was I was okay with bringing in Odell. But let's be honest here. For the price, 1 year, $18 million, if it was 10, when I first saw this deal go down, I was actually watching the Masters, but when this deal went down, my first question was, okay, how much guaranteed? Because that was the biggest thing. If we give him a 1 year deal, $18 million guaranteed, heck no. $15 million guaranteed, no, I'm not doing that. So I'm glad the Jets laid off of this. I am, because I'm actually surprised the Ravens went out and got him. I know that he was was interested in the Ravens, but the Jets were the front runners. This does tell me one main thing about the Ravens. Odell's going there because he's getting $15 million guaranteed. He actually gave the Jets a chance to match that contract. The Jets didn't match it because $15 million guaranteed, up to $18 million for a guy that is coming off of a year in which he didn't play is outrageous. You're not doing that. So I'm glad the Jets held off of it. The Jets could use some help in the receiving room. They can get it through the draft. Odell was more of a want, not really a need. You know, sure, you could say, oh, they could use a little bit more help. Okay, but let's be honest here. And it's not like we were, our receiving room's still good. It was great with Odell, but it's still very good. It's probably an 8 out of 10. Maybe it was a 9 out of 10 with Odell, right? That's the difference Odell gives you. So I'm glad the Jets held off of it. $15 million guaranteed is a lot. Two big reasons why I think he's going to Baltimore from a league-wide view on this. And I did a whole podcast on this yesterday on In the Trench with Gang Green, the Jets podcast that I do, that I've been pumping out a ton of content on there. Jets and my baseball podcast, both on Apple Podcasts. I've been pumping a ton of content. So if you want to listen to me, not the video shows here on YouTube, the daily shows, which have been a little kind of all over the place with the scheduling, if you want to get more daily, more consistent content, I've been pumping a lot of content out on those two podcasts, both on Apple. So you can definitely go check that out. Appreciate all the support. But back to what I was talking about from a Baltimore Ravens standpoint and Odell standpoint. He's getting $15 million, and he gets the chance, which the Jets didn't give Odell this chance. And it's because we have Garrett Wilson, who is the rookie of the year, and a guy, you give him Aaron Rodgers, he can even be better. He can be in the conversation, I think, of the Jamar Chases, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggses of the world, DeAndre Hopkins of the world. But he gets a chance to be the number one in Baltimore. He didn't get that chance here. I mean, you have Garrett Wilson, you have Allen Lazard, and then it was Odell. Odell was a nice compliment, almost like he was in L.A., like he was to Cooper Kupp. Odell here would have been like that. He would have been a compliment to Garrett Wilson because Garrett Wilson's the number one. He's our number one receiver. Odell wasn't going to be our number one. So he gets a number one chance in Baltimore. He gets $15 million guaranteed, which is more the Jets were going to give him, and I'm glad they didn't give him $15 million guaranteed. Did the Ravens overpay? I don't know if the Ravens saw he was visiting with the Jets and said, you know what, we can't let him visit. Let him take a physical there and walk out of that building with a contract. We're not even going to get him to visit with the Jets. We're going to get this deal done before he even has that ability to visit with them. And sure enough, they get the deal done. So it's a good move for his agent. It's a good move for Odell. From a Jets perspective, if you're a Jets fan upset about this, don't be. You're better off bringing in a rookie receiver or somebody else, or just staying put with this receiver room, than paying $15 million guaranteed, $18 million for a guy that clearly just wants to be a number one and has health problem, has issues when it comes to staying healthy, and is coming off a year in which he didn't play. I would have been fine. You give him a one-year deal, $18 million, $10 million guarantee, where he's got to reach $18 million with incentives, that's fine. But $15 million and only $3 million in incentives, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. So this also tells me what has been one of the major NFL stories this offseason is Lamar Jackson. This tells me Lamar Jackson's staying with the Ravens. Odell Beckham would not pass up a chance. I don't care what the money is. He's not going to pass up a chance at this point in his career to join a team. So what if he's going to be the number one receiver in Baltimore? Would you rather be the number one in Baltimore with Tyler Huntley throwing you passes, or be the number 2 to number 3 with the Jets with Aaron Rodgers throwing you passes? This tells me Odell knows something that a lot of people probably don't, and that's Lamar Jackson's coming back to the Ravens. He's going to be the Ravens quarterback week 1. They still got to get some things worked out, but he's going to be their guy. Odell wouldn't sign a deal to be the number 1 in Baltimore to have Tyler Huntley throwing him passes. He's signing with the Ravens because Lamar Jackson's going to come back. So that clears up, I think, one big headline this offseason. Sure, it's still some friction and they got to get some things worked out, but Odell wouldn't sign with the Ravens if there was uncertainty around. That's why he wanted to go to the Jets, because he wanted to play with Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to pass up a chance to play with Aaron Rodgers and have uncertainty in Baltimore to play with Tyler Huntley. No, he's going to Baltimore to play with Lamar Jackson. So I think that tells us, too, Lamar's coming back. Odell's going there for that reason. He gets to be a number 1, which is one thing the Jets couldn't provide to him. They could provide him a Hall of Fame quarterback. They could provide him a pretty good amount of money. They could provide him substantial playing time. The one thing the Ravens gave to Odell that the Jets couldn't was the opportunity to be a number 1 receiver. And he gets that opportunity in Baltimore. The Jets already have a legit number 1. And I'm not really upset about this because I was kind of 50-50 on the deal in the first place. Where do the Jets go from here? If DeAndre Hopkins gets released, that's definitely a possible name. There's obviously some guys in the draft, 2 guys out of Tennessee I really like. Jordan Addison's another dude, USC, spent some time with Pitt. Very phenomenal receiver. I don't know if he'll fall to us in the second round. I don't know if the Jets are willing to go a first-round receiver, if the Jets trade back, how they play this out. But let's be honest here. With Aaron Rodgers coming in, the receiving core is going to be elevated. Like, I think there's a lot of people that are acting like the receiving core is a weakness to this team. It's not. You have Garrett Wilson, who's only going to get better. You have Allen Lazard, who's phenomenal. And you have McCole Hardman, who is a faster, overall, more talented version of Braxton Berrios. So people think this receiving core regressed. I don't see that. I think it got better. We were talking about last year, Elijah Moore and Jeff Smith, guys like that, getting some good, substantial looks. This year, we're talking about Allen Lazard, Garrett Wilson having another huge year, and McCole Hardman. And it looks like Corey Davis probably will stay on the team, which is crazy to me. He survived this offseason. I'm not really upset about it. It looks like he'll play his final year of his contract out, but I'm surprised. I thought he was going to get cut. Him and Berrios are my two big cut candidates this offseason. Berrios obviously got the cut, but Corey Davis seems to stay. And look, Corey Davis, you have two big blockers on the outside now. You have a guy in Lazard that can do a little bit of everything, can play the slot, can play the outside, a very good blocker, very physical, good in the red zone one-on-one. The Jets still got guys in the receiving core, and it's Aaron Rodgers throwing to them. It's not like we're talking about Zach Wilson throwing to this receiving core. We have Aaron Rodgers. He's going to elevate the play around with others around him too. He's going to elevate guys. So, sure, you want to give him weapons. We've given him weapons, but it's not like you need to give Aaron Rodgers everything in the entire world. Offensive line is also another need. I'm more concerned about offensive line right now. We still don't have a center. There's still questions with this offensive line. I'm more worried about the offensive line and keeping Rodgers upright than Rodgers having guys to throw to. He has guys to throw to. He has the Rookie of the Year. He has a guy in Allen Lazard who's only getting better. A big red zone threat. He has a speed demon, McCole Hardman. Corey Davis is not bad. He's a good blocker, and he can make contested catches. His biggest issue is sometimes he is a little inconsistent, but he also can't stay on the field. But when he's out there, he's also a leader in the locker room. So let's not act like Corey Davis is some scrub receiver either. The Jets still have pieces in this receiving core. Odell was more of a want, not really a need. There's other things to this roster that need to be ironed out. I'm not against bringing in another receiver, but there's a lot of people that are like panicking. This receiving core is fine. Let's all calm down. And remember, we got two tight ends too that you expect will have more productive play with Aaron Rodgers and C.J. Uzomah and Tyler Conklin. So everybody just calm down a little bit on this panicking receiver talk right now where people think we need receivers, like our receiving core is horrible. No, it's not. It's fine. Our receiving core is perfectly fine. It's at the low list of my worries right now when it comes to this roster. So that's what I got on the Odell Beckham to Baltimore. To the Ravens, Jets missed out on him. Giants have been pretty quiet since the whole Darren Waller trade and all that stuff. They continue to kind of wait for the NFL draft. Again, we get into some baseball here with the Yankees and the Mets. The Yankees have looked good. I liked what I saw. 6-3 record. They've won 3 rubber games in a row. I say this all the time in baseball. Just win each series. The Yankees have done that. They'll face the Guardians tonight. You'll get Herman on the mound, who will look to bounce back after a rough first outing with a couple long balls that hurt him, versus Shane Bieber, who is one of the better pitchers in all of baseball, one of the better pitchers in the American League. So the Yankees will have their hands full tonight, definitely with a guy like Shane Bieber out there. But all in all, I've liked what I've seen out of the Yankees. Gleyber Torres has been off to an amazing start. Aaron Judge continues to do Aaron Judge things. He hit 2 home runs yesterday. He's got 4 now on the season. That leads the team. He also leads the team in RBIs and batting average and all that stuff, and hits. And Gleyber leads the team in on-base percentage. DJ Mayu has hit a lot of balls hard. So the Yankees overall have looked good. Franchi Cordero has come in and looked very good. The lineup has been solid. Sure, there's been a couple games here and there where they've had some situations with runners on and they couldn't convert, and they've had some, spots where they were in some situations to make some noise and they couldn't do it. And obviously that's happened. But all in all, I've liked what I've seen from this lineup. The pitching on the other hand, look, Johnny Brito has given us a lot of really good innings, especially on Saturday night where he didn't have his best stuff, and you're wondering how a young pitcher reacts to not having his best stuff, and he looked really good in terms of fighting through, working through it. that first inning could have got away from him. There's a lot of pitchers out there, especially young pitchers, that would have let a first inning where he lets the first two guys get on. That inning could have got away from him. It didn't. He worked through it. He got out of it, gave us 5 strong. Johnny Brito has been much better than Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt's looked really bad. Does Schmidt get moved to the bullpen? Brito get that number 5 spot? Herman tonight, another big test for him against an okay Cleveland team that we obviously saw last year in the postseason, won in 5 games to move on. But all in all, I've liked what I've seen from Brito. Clark Schmidt hasn't been good. Domingo Herman hasn't been good. Nestor and Cole's been great. Cole's been amazing. I mean, he's been one of the best pitchers in all baseball so far through his first 2 outings. The bullpen has questions, and there's been a lot of injuries. And Loaizaga going to the IL now hurts as well, because he's one of the guys that, to be honest, he's probably my most trustworthy guy in the bullpen when he's healthy and right. And this is now 2 years in a row now where he's had a rocky start to start the year. If you remember last year, he struggled to start, and he's dealt with some injuries over the past couple seasons. But when Loaizaga's right and he's out there and he's in a groove, he's one of the better, more underrated relievers in baseball, and he's one of the Yankees' better relievers. So it's tough to see, it's tough to see him go down. Jimmy Cordero has not been good. Franchi Cordero's been great, but Jimmy Cordero has not been. He had a Brooks Kriske inning, it looked like on Friday, where he spiked 2 balls in the dirt and then he let some runs score. Albert Abreu yesterday, I wasn't a huge fan of bringing him in with runners on. That's just me. Abreu, when he inherits runners, doesn't do a very good job. He's got some tools. He's got some weapons. He's not a terrible pitcher when he's got clean inning. I think it's better to give him where he can fully use all of his pitches and just not overthink things. When he gets a clean inning, Abreu's such a different pitcher. You put him in tough situations, like high leverage situations with runners on, he that's where they do damage against him. And we saw that yesterday. They still got the win, but there was definitely some, Abreu, they still got to figure out kind of when the right time to use him is. Look, Volpe he's swinging a lot. He's trying to do a little too much right now. He had a triple, which was awesome to see on Saturday, his first extra base hit of his career. I'm not panicking on Volpe. I'm really not. There's a lot of people out there who are acting like, they're panicking. I would not panic if you're a Yankee fan on Anthony Volpe. What we're seeing is very common. I mean, Adley Rutschman, they did a comparison. He was not very good through his first 20 games. We've seen a lot of guys struggle through their first 20 games. It takes time. What Volpe's doing, he's just swinging at a lot. He's swinging a lot of pitches that he wasn't normally swinging at. He's trying to do a little too much right now. Guys, that happens when they get to the MLB level. Pitchers adjust. They find their weaknesses. Then it takes a little bit more time for the batter to adjust. So I'm not panicking on Volpe. There's a lot of people out there that are worried and are saying, oh, this is what happens when you bring a guy up early. No, just calm down on the Anthony Volpe train, okay? Was Aaron Judge a star-studded player when he first got to the big leagues? No. He batted 179 his rookie year. 179 when he got called up, midway through the season. He batted 179 in 2016. He came out that next year, won Rookie of the Year because he was still eligible, hit 52 home runs. We all know now what Aaron Judge has done. He's just coming off a year in which he's won MVP, 62 bombs, currently already has 4. Let's everybody calm down on the Anthony Volpe panic train. He's fine. It happens to everybody that comes up. There's going to be guaranteed growing pains. Baseball's not easy. It's not an easy sport. He's swinging a lot. He's trying to do a little too much. He's just got to calm down a little bit and adjust. He'll be fine. So Yankees will get the Guardians tonight. As for the other team in New York, the New York Mets, it's been an interesting start for them because they obviously got off to a 3, got 3 of 4 against Miami. They looked good, and then they got smoked against the Brewers, where Carrasco didn't pitch well, and he didn't pitch well again yesterday. There's got to be legitimate concerns there about Carrasco, where the pitch clock was an issue with him. He was gassed. He was getting tired. Yesterday he struggled again, so that's 2 poor outings for Carrasco. Scherzer had a very poor outing against the Brewers. And to be honest with you, Scherzer hasn't been very good his last 4 or 5 starts dating back to last year and the playoff games last year for the New York Mets. So he'll look to bounce back today against San Diego. All in all, though, The Mets, again, their bullpen, it's been okay. I know they had, Ottavino blew the one game against Milwaukee, but it was I was questioning why Buck brought David Robertson in the eighth. I know he likes to do that where he brings in, his closer for the heart of the lineup, but you just can't get too fancy without Edwin Diaz. You just got to just bring in the guys that are supposed to bring in the closers, all that stuff. That's what you got to do. So, it was a good series for the Mets. They did take 2 of 3 against Miami. It was a tough loss yesterday where Carlos Correa pitched really poorly, but this is a big test early in the season here against San Diego, where you get an opportunity tonight for Max Scherzer against the team that you faced last year in the playoffs. And let's be honest here, San Diego's a team that the National League might run through San Diego. So the Mets are going to have tonight's, again, I know they're 10 games in. I get it. There's 152 more games to be played. I understand it. But tonight's a good measuring stick game early in the year to see where the Mets are at. Because you get a San Diego team that's 6-4 right now. They're coming off of Sunday Night Baseball last night. Max Scherzer looking to get his first real tight Max Scherzer outing where he's kind of that ace-like guy, which we haven't seen yet this year. Tonight's a big night against a very talented lineup. And Yu Darvish on the other side for the Padres. So you get 3 games against San Diego, then you get 3 against a horrible A's team, but it is a West Coast trip. So you'll get a West Coast trip, which will be 3 games against the A's, 3 against the Dodgers, and 3 against the Giants out west. So they get the Padres and the A's, then the Dodgers, and then the Giants. So Padres, Dodgers, 6 of their next 9 games are against 2 of some of the better teams in the National League. So this is going to be a good test for the Mets coming up, and the one obviously being out west. So the Mets here early on are going to have they're going to have a couple big tests here early on. And Scherzer is lucky how it played out. Scherzer almost has to face, if he pitched tomorrow, he would have to face San Diego and then face the Dodgers. His next 2 starts. Instead, he'll face San Diego tonight, and then he'll get the last game of the A series on Sunday. So Scherzer gets a little lucky there with the draw of how he doesn't have to face San Diego and then the Dodgers back-to-back outings. But tonight's a big test for him. Alvarez got a hit yesterday, I think it was. He got called up, which a lot of Mets fans are looking for. The young guys to provide a little bit of a boost to a lineup that hasn't been very good, which I don't disagree with. So we'll see what they can continue to do. As I mentioned, the Nets are back in the playoffs, facing the Sixers. Finished the year 45-37, finished up the regular season yesterday. They'll get Philly 1 Eastern, ESPN on Saturday for Game 1. And along with the Knicks as well, the Knicks will also be in the postseason this year as they wrapped up in the Eastern Conference as the 5 seed. A good season for them. I guess kind of a surprising season for them as, they went into the year off of a rough year last season, played really well. They'll get the Cavs in the first round in Cleveland. That will be 6 Eastern on ESPN on Saturday, Game 1 of a 7-game first-round series. I'm fired up as a Net fan. This team is not the flashiest team ever. They're not the team with the biggest names. They don't have star power. But, Kyrie's not in the playoffs. The Nets found a way to, work through it. They've played around 500 basketball. I talked about those 24 games after the All-Star break. They've played around 500 basketball. They've stayed in the 6th seed, and they're 45-37. And look, I don't think they're going to beat the Sixers. I don't think they will. I would love for that to happen. I mean, look, a dream scenario would be for the Nets to go all the way and miraculously win a championship. That's the dream scenario. But being realistic, I think the Nets can be competitive against the Sixers. I do. I don't think this will be a blowout of a series. That's why getting the 6th seed was so important. Because I believe in our ability to at least push and be competitive against Philly. I don't believe in us against Boston, and I don't believe in us against the Bucks. And getting the 7th seed in the play-in, we would have had to either play the Bucks or the Celtics, depending on how the play-in game plays out. If you lose, then you play the winner of the 9-10 game. Then if you win that game, you play the 1 seed. If you win the 7-8 game, you play the 2 seed, which is Boston. I was also sick of seeing Boston in the first round, which we've seen them in the past 2 years in a row in the first round. We got swept last year. So I'm glad to see the Sixers again. We haven't seen him since 2019. First round in 2019. We lost in 5. That Sixers team was good. That was a Jimmy Butler Sixers team. Ben Simmons was still on that team. Joel Embiid. Claxton's a little, Claxton will have to do a very good job against Embiid. Obviously, it'd be interesting to see. You just can't have Claxton get into foul trouble because it's Day'Ron Sharpe up next, and you just can't have that happen. The Nets got to find a way to contain Embiid. Bridges has been awesome, and Bridges played 83 games this year, has been phenomenal. Well, I mean, he is turning into a star. Like, Bridges, I think next year can truly develop into a star-like player. So, if I had to put a prediction on it, and I'm trying to work out a special Nets preview show, so stay tuned for that. Previewing the first round series. I'll also do that for the Rangers as well. But in terms of, look, I think if the Nets can push this to 6 games, I think that's realistic. You split a game on the road, you split a game at home, maybe you win both at home, something like that. I don't think they'll win the series. I hope I'm wrong, but I think this team can be competitive against the Sixers. And we've seen it a little bit the first time this kind of new look Nets played. They were competitive against them. I know yesterday they weren't, but that's besides the point. And they weren't playing anybody. Neither team was. Nobody cares about the last game of the regular season. So we'll see what the Nets can do. And as for the Knicks, same thing. If the Knicks with Jalen Brunson, we'll see what Randall's like. If they can play like they've played at points this year, the Knicks can make some noise. They can. Not saying they're going to win a championship, they can make some noise. The one thing that might lack is that they've got Donovan Mitchell on the other side, and the star power that he brings is he can win you a series. So the Knicks, obviously their biggest threat is Donovan Mitchell on the other side, but they've got Brunson, who's been amazing this season, and you'll see what the Knicks can do. So Nets, Sixers, Knicks, Cleveland, both teams will have to go on the road. This series, neither team has home field advantage, or home court advantage, I should say. But yeah, I'm pumped up for the Nets. I am. And, again, I think there's things I like. I think there's parts of our game that we match up well against Philly, and then there's also parts where Philly has some star power, which we don't, and that's could be the deciding factor. But I don't think it's crazy to say the Nets can be competitive in the series. I really don't. So looking forward to it. And obviously the Rangers and the Islanders continue to wrap up their season. The NHL regular season will wrap up on, I believe it's Friday is the last day of the regular season. So as for the Rangers, there'll be action tonight against the Sabres. They got 2 games left tonight against the Sabres, and then they'll be hosting the Maple Leafs as well on Thursday. And as for the Islanders, they'll get tonight against the Capitals, and then Wednesday night against the Canadiens. So the Islanders continue to fight for their playoff lives. The Rangers are comfortably in the playoffs. The Islanders continue to fight, continue to battle for their last playoff spot. They're currently 91 points. Penguins have 90. The Penguins' next 2 games are Blackhawks tomorrow, Tuesday, and then the Blue Jackets on Thursday. So 2 bad teams the Penguins will get coming up. Florida Panthers also in there as well. Florida's next 2 games are Maple Leafs and Carolina tonight, and then Thursday against the Hurricanes. So the Panthers got a tough schedule coming up. Islanders and the Penguins have 2 non-playoff teams coming up on their schedule, and should be good. So Rangers tonight against Sabres. Biggest thing with the Rangers is going to the postseason. We got to start quick in games. We got to have better first periods. There's been a couple rough first periods the past couple games, and we played well against Columbus. That's expected. Columbus is horrible. Crushed them, beat them. We did that. But come postseason, got to get off to quicker starts in the first period. Score goals early, get a good forecheck going early, get some momentum, couple big hits. That's what we need to do. And the big threat is Boston. Obviously, the Eastern Conference is going to run through Boston. So that's the big threat. They set an NHL record for wins, I think, in a single season. So they'll be the big target in the postseason. So anyway, that will wrap things up. A good 34-minute pod talking all things sports, all things New York sports. Enjoy the week. I will try my best to get videos out again. I try my best. Wednesday potentially could be a day because, the Rangers, I think, play Thursday. The Nets obviously don't play till Saturday. And the Yankees, I think, have a day game Wednesday. So Wednesday could be a day where maybe I get a late episode in and upload it late because, again, with my schedule, when obviously I'm not doing pods going to be doing during the games because I'm going to be watching the Yankees game. Obviously, once playoffs start, I'll be watching Nets, Rangers, and all that postseason stuff. So stay tuned. I'll try to get videos out as best as I can. But as always, I appreciate you all for watching. And as always, hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.